Are we live? Are we live? Happy Sunday! How is everybody? Let me see if I can do this real quick before we create a... Is it live? Is it live? Is it live? Is it Memorex? See, I wasn't able to do it quick. Come on. There. So we started... What the heck? We started with technical problems tonight. Go figure, right? Go figure. So, trying to set everything up here. I think we got it. There. I haven't used this. Haven't used this software. Oh, this is extra fun. Haven't used this software in a bit. Where do I grab to move it? There. Hey, everybody. What's happening? Happy Sunday. How was your week? And first off, I have to apologize. I'm going to try not to rant. I think it was Albert I saw in here saying that he was hoping for a good rant, but I'm going to try to calm down because we have Derek as a guest for a little bit tonight. And thank you, Danny. Already my voice is going. That's part of the medication I'm on. But really, really quick, you guys are awesome. A lot of cool things coming up. I'm off to Los Angeles a week from today. I will be on Skid Row with Sidewalk Project, which does harm reduction for homeless people and sex workers. Then on the 28th, we are with USC medical team doing a mini documentary to help show the gaps in healthcare for homeless people. And the purpose of this mini documentary is they are pushing a street medicine bill in Sacramento. Sacramento's the capital, so it's a statewide bill. So what we're doing is really, really cool because harm reduction is an important topic. Healthcare for homeless people is an important topic. And we are going to create something that the USC medical team can use to help get politicians to vote for it. So as you guys have seen, the mini docs are awesome. I'm going to ask you a little bit because Derek's waiting. We're going to go to Derek in a minute. But just wondering how you guys like the news clip. We did our first video news story with Crystal as the talent and the commentator and the journalist. And a gentleman named Evan was the cinematographer on that. And last but far from least, on May 1st and May 2nd, we start filming our very first scripted short film. So if you remember the film Homeless, if you don't, hey, Auntie D, Google Homeless 2021. It's a 13-minute film. It's really powerful. We just did the distribution, but I was really impressed at how you can control the messaging with a scripted film, more so than you can with mini docs. So this year I have a goal of producing 4. I think we're going to end up doing 2, but last year we were only going to do 5 mini docs, and thanks to all of your support, we ended up doing 9 mini docs. So just wanted to okay, Planet Walker wants to talk. And Planet Walker, how do you know Derek? Derek, you got one of your friends in here that's going to talk to me about the word homeless. So, and I said no rants. We're going to do a little rant. Thank you, Derek Walker, or Derek Walker, Planet Walker. Okay, the world homeless has been around since the 1600s. Majority of people, 99% of people say homeless, right? This thing about people experiencing homelessness, people, it's really, really, they have great intentions, but an experience is Disneyland. Homelessness is hell. So there's a movement to say unhoused. And believe it or not, I focus on communications for behavior change. So it is really, 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 really amazing that it's really amazing that people are starting to use unhoused. But guess what? So are NIMBYs, right? So the reason people are taught using the word unhoused is they didn't want the stigma of homelessness. So now all the stigma, I mean, news clips, news reporters, they're using unhoused in the headlines. NIMBYs are using unhoused. So that same stigma from homeless went over to the phrase unhoused. And I I don't want to say I don't have a dog in this fight, but it's important to me that we communicate, which is why I use homeless people, because that's what most people, and we have to change the stigma around homelessness. I can't say I was proud to be homeless because homelessness sucks, but I also don't think of any negativity about that I was homeless, except that it sucks. So it's kind of like left-handed people. Left-handed people, everybody thought were evil. You know, they were of the devil. They're left-handed. We didn't go around and start saying people experiencing left-handedness, or we didn't say, oh, they're unright-handed. No, we changed what people believed about left-handed. So we have to do the same thing with the word homeless. A substitute phrase is not going to change or reduce the stigma. A substitute phrase, if you don't reduce the stigma of the original phrase, it just transfers on to the next phrase. So, Planet Walker, you got a rant out of me. And Miss So, thank you. Thank you for the donation. And I saw Crystal, our new video journalist, is in the chat. And now, drum roll, please. I'm sorry, Derek. I get, you know, that's a hot topic for me. And that's your friend, Planet Walker, who brought it up. And thank you, Planet Walker. So, without any further ado, here is Derek. So,
hey,
Derek,
welcome everybody.
hey, you're gonna have to speak up a little. Hey, you guys,
Welcome
let me know how the
everybody.
audio's doing.
Okay, let me put my other earpiece in too. Can you hear me any better?
Everybody, can you hear? Are you good? You
Yeah.
guys good? I'm
Everybody
probably
hear me
too
okay?
loud. I turned you up on the.
Okay. So
Yeah,
testing 1 2 3, testing 1 2 3. All
yeah.
right.
We're gonna. I think didn't I buy you a mic? That was so long ago. I doubt you still have it.
Oh, these are much better, especially for a lot of the media that I'm doing right now, because it's wireless. It's in my ear rather than clipped to me and tethered to my transmitter or my iPad in this case.
Yeah, I can't do the cordless things. They fall out. So first off, Addie's got to do double duty. So for those of you that are new, um, Derek, and Addie are the best moderators. I actually call Derek the troll zapper. I'm going to have to get him a shirt. He's actually representing tonight. He's got the Invisible People shirt. And so tonight, because Derek's on video, Addie's got to do double duty. But Derek, you've had an interesting couple of days. Briefly tell us. You got to understand, most of these people don't know. I mean, like Dano and a few people know, but most of them don't. So you're going to have to walk us through and briefly tell us what's happening, what's going on.
Okay. Number one, I'm Oakland's first declared mayoral candidate for 2022, which is next year's election. And my politicals locally told me that I have no chance because nobody knows of me or has ever heard of me. So I think I fixed that little issue there. Next one was that I'm working on a tiny home project, and we're modeling a very successful village up in Eugene, Oregon called Emerald Village. And we're bringing it right here, an exact model to Oakland with the tiny homes and all. These have bathrooms, have kitchens, running water, heat, hot water, everything. They're real homes, and that's what we're bringing to Oakland. But then, because of where this particular project is located, it doesn't garner much interest because it's in a very poor neighborhood with a lot of crime, and so people tend to not pay attention to very important projects like that. And I was approached by uh, the 501c backing the project that if I would go in as an associate to endorse the project and possibly live on site. And I said, absolutely 100%, long as we use this particular model. And they said, that's how we got, why we're in touch with you. So I said,
So
absolutely.
before you go, because you talk about a model, but most of these people don't know what that model is. So
Yeah.
what you got to give them a little foundation.
The the actual model is an affordable housing model where we utilize the community land trust property instead of the homeowner having to own the property. So if the community land trust owns the property, and then it's just the value of the home. Tiny homes are on the future horizon as affordable housing. We're talking about real homes, not tool sheds like what is scattered around Oakland. These have real bathrooms, hot, cold running water. They have a kitchen, they have a bedroom. They're typically 300 to 600 square feet on average. The average home we predict will be between 200 and 400. For a family up to five, that would be 600 square feet.
Okay. So then now that you got that, oops, I'm talking into a camera and I'm not. Um, Tell us what happened yesterday and what you did.
Okay, and so here's what happened. For the past few days, when I first set up, which was Thursday, I got a lot of interest from the neighborhoods. I made my official announcement of this protest, which is where do we go, Oakland? And so it's hashtag where do we go, Oakland, one word. And what that is, we're asking, okay, where do we go for housing? Where do we go for services? Where do we go for answers? Where do we go for help? And this is a common cry all over Oakland, not only just for the unhoused uh, folks, but also a lot of low income families that are drastically affected too.
And but like you got your camping out and tell us what you even got a ticket. They're gonna evict you. You gotta leave. Tell them where you are. Tell the story.
Yeah. Well, yesterday, there's my official citation of trespassing. So the owner, Jason, um, he instructed the police to start the process of removing me. And there is a process here in California and in Oakland to remove me from the spot. So uh, there's a first 24-hour warning, and then if I'm still here when they come back, then they issue one of these. And then when they come back after that, I would be subject to arrest. But right now, because of COVID, there's a jailing restriction for Alameda County. So that poses a problem because the officers say, well, we will arrest you. I said, well, also you need to be aware that I am a special needs medical person. And so you would have to have special facilities for me to accommodate my needs immediately. So now I got the police officers kind of rolled back on their heels. But then they did issue me the citation. They said, we'll be back in 24 hours. And then after the police left yesterday, the actual owner of where I'm sitting right now, uh, we engaged in some evening time dialogue offline via text. And we had a good communication. And I could, in our first contact, which was kind of hostile on the first day that he showed up, and that was Friday. He first showed up. He's from nearby town called Union City, uh, and he's stuck with this particular property. It can't be built on. The city and the county screwed this individual because there's an underground river that runs on his property, so he can never build a house here. But yet he can't sell it either, and so he's stuck in a no-win situation. And the City of Oakland, County of Alameda passed a measure called Measure W, which penalizes the property owners like this one on the property. And he he has to pay a $6,000 a year penalty for owning this open plot that he cannot build on. And that was put in place by the city, one of my city council people that I oppose. And so these are a lot of the unfair things that I'm bringing up to the folks here, and I have a lot of neighborhood support because I used to live here. I grew up here. My family first moved into the family home 4 homes away up on Buenaventura. And so this was where I used to play. I trained my hunting dog. This is where I grew up. You know, when I was really young and not getting into mischief like I did, uh, we would have kids and we would have sliding contests on cardboard coming down the hill and try to stop before the 30-foot cliff drop off to Buenaventura. So it was fun times back then. Life was exciting and simple. And that's why I came back here.
I got to ask you, did you get much sleep last night? You look a little tired.
Uh, yes and no, because I was really contemplating, uh, did I actually achieve the goals that I wanted to achieve? And yes, because now this uh, allows me to spotlight and showcase a project that I'm working on here in Oakland with the cooperation of the Oakland Community Land Trust and a 501c. And so it's an actual tiny home village that we're modeling after Emerald Village, the affordable tiny home village in Eugene, Oregon. And they typically rent for about 200 up to $400 a month. And there's qualifications to get in there. It's an incredible program that gets people back on their feet and housing stable.
So that brings up a good segue. I'm going to put a link to the petition. Explain the petition.
The petition is the exact project. We need support. We need donors to donate to the project for the tiny homes. But we need support and signatures so that we can move forward with the planning that we're putting forth to the Planning Commission and the uh, Community Land Trust so that the project can hopefully come to fruition in about a year and then actual occupancy occur a year from now. So that's what we're really pushing for. And we need more signatures, more support for this first time tiny home village, a real tiny home HUD qualified village.
So you're like briefly, what you did is you went and established a little protest to get some media attention, which you
Hmm.
did. Almost got arrested, which you didn't, but you did get a ticket.
Yeah.
And now you're moving back to the seventh. And those of you tuning in now, Derek is currently homeless. He's an advocate. He's running for mayor. He lives in a tent city. And y'all need to sign this petition I just shared the link to, or I'm trying to share the link to. And it's not working. Okay, where? There it is. There's the link. So, any last words for people?
We know that the future of affordable housing is real tiny homes that are built to home specifications that are HUD approved, and that's what we're shooting for with these tiny homes. They cost a little bit more, averaging out about $80,000 with heating, cooling, solar, electric, so fully outfitted with water and sewer. So these are important projects. First time in Oakland. These are not established or uh, experimental. These are real, proven models from outside of Oakland that we want to bring in to reverse what's happening to the crazy amount of growth that's going on in the homeless community here in Oakland.
Let me ask you real quick. Bliss wants to know, can people outside of Oakland or outside of California sign the petition?
Absolutely. We need all the signatures, just a huge show of support.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Derek, and thank you for moderating. You're doing double duty tonight. And thank
Yep.
you, Addie, for holding down the fort while Derek was in the hot seat for a bit. Good to have you.
Thanks, Mark.
So, what I think might be a good topic is, and Crystal, are you still in the chat? I asked Crystal if she wanted to get live, and she didn't respond. If she wanted to go live, and she didn't respond, so I'm going to take that as a no. But she might be in. Stacy, so my email, and everybody, please be nice to my inbox. It's info@invisiblepeople.tv. I did not get any Instagram message. I get hundreds of messages and emails and everything. I'm sorry. I will go to look. Hey, Manna, thank you very much. I think the topic of tiny homes might be a good topic. What do you guys think? And why I asked if Crystal's still listening. She might gone and hide because I asked her if she wanted to go live because we could talk about this. Since she is moving into being the video journalist of Invisible People, I was asked 2 nights ago about doing a documentary on tiny homes. And the person was highlighting a tiny homes that I visited and I do support. But there's this interesting thing happening with tiny homes. Now, tiny homes have been around forever. Okay, it's not like something new, and tiny homes are now like the new sexy thing. Everybody's talking about tiny homes, tiny homes, tiny homes. So one of the things that was interesting, and it was behind a paywall. I don't know if any of you have a subscription to the San Francisco Chronicles, but they were showing the tiny homes that were built by the U.S. government after the earthquake in San Francisco. And many of them people still live in today. or they added additions to it. And it looked really neat. The photos that I could see, but I couldn't read the article. I really, really, really would like to do that. But here's the thing, and I have visited quite a few tiny homes, tent cities. One of my favorites called Dignity Village in Portland, Oregon. Why I like Dignity Village is I'm an old hippie, and it's a total self-governed. They like every Tuesday they do intakes. All the homeless people gather around. They make decisions. They have espresso carts and hot dog carts, and they sell stuff on eBay so people have an income. Schools come and help paint the shacks. They have a really neat greenhouse. It is really awesome. Dignity Village, I love. But there's this thing happening with pallet shelters, and pallet shelter is the name of a business. And I have nothing against pallet shelters at all. And Crystal's still here. Okay, guys, we gotta get Crystal. I asked her if she wanted to go live because I could interview her about news, or we can do it another time. I do admit I probably wouldn't go on live like that myself, So there's this thing called pallet shelters, and they're basically a shack. They're like a shack for a lawnmower. I mean, they run electricity. They put in a little heater. They put in a little air conditioner. They put in some outlets. They're metal walls. I mean, if you went to Lowe's or you went to Home Depot and you bought a shack for your lawnmower and put in some electric outlets and a heater, and that is a pallet shelter. The interesting thing about pallet shelters is they're tiny and they're putting two people in them. And a little interesting fact is California prison, they're smaller than a California prison cell, which is governed by law, right? They're smaller, and prison cells have bathrooms. Okay, I think, Albert, you jinxed me, because here's coming rant too. If you don't have a bathroom, how do you heal? How do you get better? I mean, there's something about indoor plumbing, a shower, and being able to take a crap in private that you it provides self-worth and dignity. And if you're old like me, I saw Ska Punk in the chat earlier. Ska Punk is always, you gotta live in a van, gotta live in a van, gotta live in a van. And you know what? If I was 20 years old, I would probably live in a van. I would probably buy a van and I would be traveling if I was 20, 30, or 40. But at 60, my bladder is up every hour, all night. And there's no way I'm living in a van. It's just not going to happen at 60 years old. It's not for everybody, right? So, and I really want to clarify it. The pallet shelter people have great intentions. They don't even call them homes. The politicians are calling them homes because politicians believe if they call them homes that the NIMBY people, the not in my backyard people, will find it more acceptable. So, make a long story short, and this is really, really key. Walter's in the house. Walter! Hey, Malka! Masi! Hello, Lorraine. You know what? I'm going to rant for a little bit and I'll come and talk to y'all. Are you guys familiar with Martin versus Boise? It was a Supreme Court case. Well, it was a case that went all the way to the Supreme Court. And basically what it says is that homeless person cannot be arrested for sleeping or going to the bathroom or things that are caused by poverty if there's not an alternative. So the Supreme Court ruled that a police officer cannot arrest a homeless person for being homeless unless they can offer him one night shelter. One night shelter. So in cities like Los Angeles, Seattle, Austin, there's just not enough shelter beds. And to be totally honest, shelters don't end homelessness. We need to get people out of the shelters into homes. So what California was doing, and other states might be doing, and this ties into the little news story Crystal produced for Invisible People, was our last upload. They were trying to quickly as possible put up all these they're called sprung shelters. They're giant tents. They could put up a couple hundred beds in them. And that way they could get up the shelter count so police can start arresting people. I kid you not. That is where they're headed, right? They were even using the mayor of San Francisco and MRT, Mark Wrigley Thomas, who's a council person in Los Angeles, were using this phrase. Remember it, obligation to use. So if a homeless person was offered a shelter bed, they're obligated to use it. Now you got to understand, shelters suck. They just suck. They flat out suck. So when that homeless person turns it down, they have an obligation to use, which is right out of Mayor Steinberg, I think his name is, from Sacramento. I've heard him say it, not all the time, but he said it enough because it's very controversial. Obligation to use, which means they're building these shelter beds to arrest people. What happened? Pandemic. You can't put all these people in a giant tent. You can't. The pandemic really opened up the conscious or the thinking that congregate shelters, 100 people on cots in one room, are not safe. So now they're doing these pallet shelters, which they're calling tiny homes, but they're boxes. They are Lowe's boxes. Again, the pallet shelter people have good intention. And if there was one person to a pallet shelter, and remember, these boxes are smaller than the law mandates for prison cells, and prison cells have bathrooms. So they're going to put two people in these boxes. Why? They want to up shelter beds as quickly as possible. And they say it's temporary. So can we have an amen for politicians? Aren't they special? Oh my gosh. So the new term in San Francisco, it's a navigation center. In Los Angeles, it's a bridge housing. It's a homeless shelter, right? You could call it the Derek So building or what, I don't know, the Addie Payne home. It's still a homeless shelter. Sorry, guys, I couldn't. I'm ranting, and the blood just wasn't going to the brain where I could come up with a creative shelter name. They're just homeless shelters. So they're saying that these tiny shacks are temporary. And if they were, and they're only putting one person into them, I could kind of see it, right? But they're putting two people in indefinitely. Right now, the bridge shelters in Los Angeles have a 15%, I keep repeating stuff because it's important, 15% success rate of going from the shelter into housing, meaning 15% of ending homelessness. If Walter is still in the chat, we have friends that live in bridge housing for up to 2 years now. They're not temporary. They're not. So this idea of warehousing two people in a tiny shack. Now, I've been to Springfield, Missouri. If you type in Springfield tiny homes, invisible people, I did a feature on a wonderful tiny home village. I have seen good tiny home villages, and to me, a tiny home, to be called a home, needs a couple of things. It needs enough space. I mean, it needs, it can't be like this, right? It's got to be more than a lawnmower shack. It needs a bathroom. You've got to have a bathroom. And I get it. Running plumbing is expensive. I understand. And they're trying to build these quickly and cheaply. So some of them will have a communal bathroom. And that's fine if it's a short period. Because again, I'm 60 years old. I went to the bathroom a bunch of times last night, right? And that's what happens when you're old and the bladder starts going. So the homeless population is old and getting older. So this thinking of a bathroom down the half a mile down the road is crazy, especially when you're older. I mean, I got 5-10 more years. I mean, I might be in a wheelchair or whatever, and bathroom down the road, come on. So a tiny home has to have a space. It has to have a place where, I mean, I have seen wonderful one room with bathroom tiny homes that have a cooking area, they have a nice sleeping area, they have a little living area, and it's not a lot of square footage, and they're built relatively cost effective. And what I mean by that is they're a hell of a lot cheaper than what they're doing on Project HHH and all these other things. So in the conversation of tiny homes, I know it sounds like a simple word, but politicians are just throwing it out their ass. They're saying tiny homes, tiny homes. The pallet shelters are a tiny box. Even the pallet shelter people call it a pallet shelter. They would not call it a home. Only it started in Los Angeles. They started calling it, the demographics. They just started calling it homes. So they're coming. For whatever reason, because they want to, whatever reason, I already went into it. They want to circumvent Martin versus Boise. It's a big reason they're doing this. They're not going to publicly say that, but the people, this is why invisible people's work is so important. The public, and especially, and so Crystal did a marvelous news piece on Echo Park Lake. The news media and the politicians told a different story. They told it as a success. It's not a success. There's lawsuits coming. There's people's rights. I mean, what they did was horrible. But people in Los Angeles are upset. I mean, they just want homeless people gone. So they love that the stormtroopers came in at night and moved everything. They don't even care that it costs $1 million. Now they want it throughout the city. So they're pushing for more criminalization. And that's why they're trying to circumvent Martin versus Boise. And this is really important. And there's one little thing I'm going to say. And you see it a lot in San Francisco. You see it in Austin. You see it in Venice. These people want police action. They want the police to come in and clear it out like Echo Park Lake. Police action, criminalization, does absolutely nothing to end homelessness. All these people want is homelessness gone. That's all they want. In a way, I understand, because I want it gone too. I mean, I'm upset too. I'm frustrated that the system is broken too. I get it. I'm mad. But the idea that we're going to arrest our way out of homelessness. So let's unpack. And I know I said I'm going to talk to you for a bit, and if we go long, because we're going to hang out like we do on Sunday nights, let's unpack this a little bit. Homelessness is projected to increase 86% in the next 4 years. When you hear nonprofits and politicians say we're ending homelessness, say bullshit, because it's going to get worse. Already jails are overwhelmed. Already they're passing laws so that they can get people out of jail early. For as long as I can remember, if you get arrested, you're going to do a third of the time because of early release. Because jails are stinking full. So homelessness is growing 86%, right? In New York City, jail is $169,000 a year. I read in California it's around $80,000 per inmate. I think the California is a little low. I once interviewed, and a guy's name is Sean in San Francisco. He knew the cost of everything. So like if you moved an inmate from the bottom bunk to the top bunk, that was $75. He knew the cost for everything when they're getting driven to court, when you're getting moved to a new cell. The cost is huge. Then you got food and everything else. If you watch our video on Lanny, who we got into housing, that was $14,000, a single in Glendale. Now rents have probably gone up, so it's probably $17,000, $18,000. But, you know, the idea that we're going to arrest our way out of homelessness is completely insane. It is insane. So think about this. All these people, San Francisco, Los Angeles, they want homeless people gone. They just want them gone. And in their mind, they believe homeless people are criminals. So let's just bring in the police and arrest them all. That's what they want. What is going to be the result of that? Insane taxes because it costs so much money. I mean, Echo Park Lake was almost $900,000 just for man hours. That doesn't include the 182 people that were arrested. 5 of them were journalists. And all those costs, right? There's all this other cost. It doesn't include all that, right? And so if we're going to criminalize homelessness, which doesn't do anything, so I'm going to say this as simply as I can. And I know it took me a long time to get here. I'm sorry. You guys are used to it. This is why you tune in on Sundays, to hear me rant. So the people that want homelessness gone with police action because they think it's going to be the quickest to get homeless people out of sight are actually shooting themselves in the foot, because police action does nothing to end homelessness. So once you start arresting your way out of homelessness, once you start criminalizing homelessness, which we're already going there, and homelessness is going to increase, and budgets are already being cut because everything that these NIMBYs and these homeless haters and even just concerned citizens that just want the tents gone. I mean, there's people that just don't want homeless there. I don't want homeless there. Hopefully you don't want homeless there. All they want is homeless gone. And by supporting criminalization, homelessness will grow. But they don't see that because they're so mad and they're blaming politicians. Oh my gosh, he did this and he did that. The politicians were powerless over the pandemic. I mean, Eddie, I'm not going to talk about Trump. I promise. Planet Walker, thank you. So, anyways, we covered, did you guys get the tiny homes thing? Some tiny homes are good. Some tiny homes are bad. We need to be able to say, hey, Mr. Politician, you're full of it. Okay? This is the truth. And support good tiny homes and don't support bad tiny homes. The other thing is criminalization. Criminalization of homelessness is a waste of taxpayer money, and it does nothing to end homelessness. So, I think Addie is referring to me not mentioning the T word, who was our former president. So, folks, how are you? I'm going to spend a little time in the chat talking to you. Uh-oh, Dano, did I miss a joke? Picking for a living. I don't know if I ever visited one that had a social worker on every floor. I visited, one of the best models, and Utah used it a lot. And hopefully, what do you call it? Project Home Key, which is they're building hotels, is where in a hotel where you have offices by the reception, there you have case managers, social workers. It's a really wonderful model, but I don't know of I've ever been on one that had a social worker for every floor. So if I misstated something that gave you that impression, I'm sorry. Hey, LM, thank you. Hey, Skillet fan, I do. Info at invisiblepeople.tv. Please, everybody, best way to reach me is at Hardly Normal on Twitter. I miss emails. I mean, there's a woman that was messaging me about her son and I missed it. Which those are the ones that I look at. So, brevity. Like, sometimes people email me their life story and I'm grateful and honored, but I don't have time to read it because I could literally sit and just read emails all day. So, please be nice. But info at invisiblepeople.tv. The best way to reach me is send me a tweet on Invisible People. It's at Hardly Normal. Invisible People, I don't monitor as much. Hey, Susan, thank you. Addie, tell it. Preach it, girl. Twitter is short. It's 280 characters, and I'm a Twitter addict, so I'm on Twitter all the time. And it gives me a notification. So if you're talking to me on Twitter, I normally see it right away. Stacy, I agree. We got to pray for it. Swar, how are you? So, Swar, I almost went into this rant, and I'm not going to, I'll save the whole rant for next week. But there's a wonderful woman named Tanya Tall who's iconic in homeless services. In fact, she is the first person that started Housing First. Another wonderful person, Sam, gets credit for it, but she was the first to do it. And she once told me, she says, we're not going to be able to build our way out of homelessness. And at the time, that's what Los Angeles was trying to do. They're trying to build all these new structures. And the point really stuck to me because we have abandoned buildings. We have now a bunch of office spaces that now that everybody's working from home, there's houses, Caltrans and Invisible People. We did a story. There's places in Philadelphia and LA and all through up that are trying to reacquire some of these vacant buildings. So we have to do all the above. We have to do it all. We have to I know this is a little bit philosophical. Um, Nothing in this world happens unless people can make money from it. Nothing. I mean, really. If you want something to happen quick and you want it to happen big, you got to figure out how to attach money to it. And we have to figure out a way for developers, because developers make a lot of money building luxury buildings. We've got to figure out a way for developers to make enough money. Obviously, they're not going to make the luxury build, the amount they make in a luxury building. But we've got to figure out a way for people, developers, to really create housing at scale. And we've got to use existing housing. We've got to use everything to get people. I mean, if you look at Finland, which often the United States does, and Finland is a socialist country, so it's a whole different culture. So it's really apples and oranges. You really can't compare. But what Finland did is they started going all in housing. And like, for instance, the Salvation Army in Finland, in Helsinki, had a shelter and they taught them into building housing. And Finland is on track of ending homelessness for reals because they went in all into housing. They created new housing. They refurbished old housing. They they did all of the above, and we have to do the same. Great question. Uh-oh, my audio is faint. Is that better? Yates, it's probably because I was talking lower. Hopefully that's better. I'm sorry it was faint. Yeah, Kit Kat. It's a different culture. Yeah, Stacy, you know, a lot of us do things, sacrifices, delayed gratification. College students living, a bunch to the room. That's not sustainable, right? You can do that for a short period of time, but I don't think you're doing it anymore. And especially for family, I mean, majority of homeless people are young children. Thanks, everybody. The questioner, I love rants. Maybe that should be a shirt. I'm trying to think of some new shirt ideas, some new swag ideas. Thanks, Yates Networks. Oh, Dolly Love. I don't know the actual data, but Finland is really close. And the guy who's did it, I forget his name. I've met him a couple of times. We follow each other on Twitter and the socials. He's such a nice man. Oh my gosh. He is just so kind and so gentle. Yeah, Dano, I'm about ready to move, and one of the things I'm tripping about is I got to. I've lived in a two bed, so I'm an executive marketer, and I make good money when I have a normal job. And my last normal job, I made a lot of money, and I had a really nice apartment. I had a loft downtown, and it was 2 bedroom, and I bought too much stuff, and now I've got to give a bunch of it away so I can go and live in a tiny home of my own. Susan, I might. Should it be I love rants or watch out for the rants or it's Sunday rant time? Hey, I like that, Taylor. Okay. Thank you, Planet Walker. You guys didn't tell me how you know Derek. Or how Derek knows you. I get the impression you live in Oakland. Oop. I love rants. Mark rants. It's rantfully good, Walter says. Ooh, visible rants. Well, if Tristan would buy them, there's an idea. She doesn't hang out with us anymore. Gwendolyn, great. Are they the pallet shelters? And what do you do in Los Angeles County? Rent on. I like that one. Well, casual flippers. I don't know if I love rants because one of these days my brain's going to explode. I mean, what we're talking about something the other night where I thought I was going to explode. Walter, what, you got your first shot? So you'll be ready for me to visit. Now I have no other excuse because we're both double vaccinated. Dano, always the businessman. Miss, so you're right. Yeah, Nick, it's everywhere. It drives me insane. Politicians, nonprofits are all saying we're ending homelessness, and those of you, I've been to Calgary a bunch of times. I did my favorite TEDx I spoke at was at Calgary. Rockin' Rants, America Rants, Saskatoon, Debbie, you made it. Uh-oh. Eddie's putting the hammer down. She's going to take away Troll Zapper. We'll have to get them Troll Zapper shirts. Hey, Roger, thank you. Hey, Sherry, the border immigrants are not coming in getting more than the homeless. They're not. That's a Fox News lie. That's a Republican lie. Oh, God, we're going to have an explosion. Immigration. Well, first off, we should take care of our neighbors. I understand immigration is a hot topic and it needs a solution, right? But these people are leaving war atrocities, right? They're coming, risking all odds, not to go to Disneyland, but because they would die if they stayed where they were. They would die. My gosh. So there's all these kids coming over, unaccompanied minors, and we are going to let them die? But here's the thing, there's like $50 billion coming in to help homeless people. And I guess 84 million is going to help the unaccompanied minors. So this thinking that is they get more, they don't. And let's be damn honest here. If illegal immigrants, I can't believe I said illegal immigrants. If immigrants didn't come across the border to work, you would be paying $20 for a head of lettuce. Because we don't want to do that. Americans don't want to do that. We don't want to pick the lettuce and the produce. So what would happen? The prices would go up. So every time you bitch about immigration, get your wallet out and get prepared to pay $20 for a head of lettuce. There you got 3 rants tonight. Mossy. I like that. That should be a shirt too. So I'm going to end this, and I'm going to say it like this, is that how do we get to a place as a society, and I don't mean just America, I mean the world, where we take care of people? I mean, the bottom line is we point fingers and say, oh, they're getting a bigger piece of the pie. You know what? And it's not, I just saw Dano. I mean, it's in the UK. Every country has an immigration problem. I haven't seen it as bad as I have my trips in the UK, because you have people from Eastern Europe coming over, and they're coming over for a better life. I don't know what the answer is, except that if we all have compassion, for our neighbors, all this, and I think about this as I itch my back. I think about this as I'm getting older, because I ain't got nobody, right? When I took care of my mom, yesterday I cleaned out, I built a bathroom here so she could stay in the house longer. It only kept her in the house maybe 4 or 5 months. It's crazy expensive, but it was worth it, right? I haven't opened that bathroom until yesterday, and I cleaned it out. And every day I procrastinate for hours, and then I work a little bit trying to get this house so I can leave. And I gotta tell you, that was the hardest, cleaning out mom's bathroom so far. It really just nailed me. And I don't have me to help. My mom had me, and I'm grateful I was there for her, but I don't have that person. And in cultures like Japan and other cultures, they take care of their seniors. I'm moving to Los Angeles, and I'm thinking about, I'm turning 65 soon, and I can't live here because it's dangerous. And if we all took care of our neighbors, we wouldn't have to worry about homelessness and immigration and job loss and poverty. If we all just took care of our neighbors. So folks, I know, I say this a few times. I give you this challenge. Do something nice for other people and don't tell anybody. And it's not that easy. But this week, we're going to be on, next Sunday, Okay, next Sunday there might be a time change because I'm out on Skid Row this time of day in California. So I don't know. I'll let you know. Check out the community section. Um, but have a marvelous week, folks. I'm grateful for this hour we spend together every Sunday night. Have a marvelous week. Thank you, Derek, for being on. Thank you, Derek and Addie, for being the troll zapper monitors. Thank you, everybody, for your kind words. But this week, let's be kind to each other. Let's really work about on being kind to each other. And on that note, I'm going to say goodnight. And again, next week, this time, the time might change. Sorry, Dano. I don't know if I'll be able to do it early. It will probably be later, like this time on a Sunday night, but only California time. So, but I will post it in the community section so you guys will know the updated time. Anyways, you guys have a marvelous evening and a wonderful week.